Today we're in Red Rock Canyon, southern Nevada, and you're looking at the Rainbow Mountains, the western side of the canyon. Panning around to the La Madre Mountain Cliffs. You see Trailhead Peak, Damsel Peak to the right, and then around into the sunrise. Here you can see the Beast. There's the complete circuit. What's our goal today? We're going to do a streamlined approach to Juniper Peak if everything works out. And you're looking at Juniper Peak right here. And you can see the final summit approach just on the right side, that green strip. We're at the Oak Creek Canyon Road, splits off of the scenic drive at Red Rock Canyon, and this is the last right turn you can make before leaving Red Rock Canyon. Technically, if you've got a car that enjoys traveling on these unpaved roads, which the Beast does not, you can just go another half mile to the Oak Creek Canyon Trailhead, and that would be the way to do it. Save yourself a half mile each way there and back. But yeah, we're going to do it on foot. And here is the summary preview of what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Oak Creek Canyon Trailhead, and there we're going to take a right on the Arnite Trail. We're going to take the Arnite Trail to the base of Juniper Canyon. There's a boulder I call the Juniper Canyon Landmark Boulder. We're going to find that boulder and then head up Juniper Canyon. Let's see if I can nail that location. Yeah, we're looking right at it. So we're going to head up Juniper Canyon. Finding the opening of the canyon is a bit of a challenge. I've done this a few times now, so I'm going to see if I can streamline it. And then once you get into the narrow part of the canyon, then we hit some boulders. So we're going to do some bouldering through the canyon. We get up to the summit of the canyon, and there's one final boulder field. Then we hit that white sandstone that you're looking at. There's a white sandstone slab. We're going to take that and we're going to take it right along the base of the red part of those cliffs there. And we're going to go up to this spot on the right side of the summit, lower right side. And at that point, we take a left and we head up to the summit. So there is the preview of what we're going to do. This is the second week in May, and so we're going to see a lot of wildflowers along the way. But our main focus is getting up to the summit of Juniper Peak. We're going to see how that goes. And just to give you an idea what we're looking at here in the Rainbow Mountains. There you see the southern Rainbow Mountains, and you're looking at the Hidden Peak, Monument Peak area. There's a gap, and then we have Indecision Peak. We're getting more toward the mid-Rainbow Mountains. Indecision Peak, the highest peak, around 7,000 feet, is Mount Wilson. And then Rainbow Mountain. To the right of it is a beautiful cliff formation called Rainbow Wall. We'll get a closer look at that later. Then there's Juniper Peak. Then we have Bridge Mountain. There's some others that you can't see from this angle. Here's White Rock Mountain. And then I mentioned the La Madre Mountain Cliffs. And actually, we can be a little more specific. There's El Bastardo. And by the way, you can see pages on all of these on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. And there you see two high points, the left and the right. The left is El Padre. The right is La Madre. Then I mentioned Trailhead Peak and Damsel Peak. There you can see the scenic drive, car on it. And then around this way, and behind the trees and the beast here, there is Blue Diamond Hill. A lot of cool places to go on Blue Diamond Hill, a lot of fossils. And I've got some pages on Blue Diamond Hill on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. So anyway, there you have it. So let's begin. Here we go. And by the way, I failed to mention the canyons in the Rainbow Mountains. The canyons are pretty significant too. So you would start out with, to the left of Mount Wilson here, would be First Creek Canyon, between Mount Wilson and Indecision Peak. And then straight ahead, we're looking at Oak Creek Canyon. And then we took a look at Juniper Canyon a moment ago. And then over here is Pine Creek Canyon. And then on the other side of Bridge Mountain would be Icebox Canyon. And then up in the White Rock Spring area would be Lost Creek Canyon. The reason I mentioned the canyons is that the canyons are unique in themselves. Lots of boulders to encounter. If you like to climb, scramble over boulders, you will love the canyons. But they have their own navigational challenges. And so what I suggest is you start at the upper canyons. Get a taste of what the canyons are like up in Lost Creek Canyon. Then try Icebox Canyon. By the time you've done Icebox Canyon, you're ready to encounter, I'd say Juniper Canyon would be next. And you make it through Juniper Canyon, then you're pretty good for Pine Creek Canyon, then Oak Creek Canyon, and each canyon gets a little more difficult as you go, and then First Creek Canyon. And what you're going to face in these canyons is you're going to face boulders, walls of brush, and ledges. And so there are a lot of navigational challenges in the canyons. Why go up the canyons? They're very beautiful. And also, you may just get to the Upper Crest Ridgeline. And the Upper Crest Ridgeline is actually a ridgeline that goes above these high peaks that I mentioned a little earlier. And it goes the whole length of the Rainbow Mountains. which actually begins at Willow Spring up in this area. I called it White Rock Spring a little while ago. It's actually Willow Spring, between these two hills right in the center. So that's where the Rainbow Mountains begin, and they go all the way down to Highway 160 and Potosi Mountain. And you can take that upper crest ridge line above the peaks, the whole length of the Rainbow Mountains. Very cool. It's an experience in itself. And another reason to take the upper crest ridgeline is that you can descend to these peaks from the upper crest ridgeline. The main descent, or the main approach to Bridge Mountain, for example, is from the upper crest ridgeline. But you can approach these other peaks also from the upper crest ridgeline and avoid some of the navigational challenges in the canyons, which also would include some class 4 and 5 cliff climbing at some point. Today, when we go up Juniper Peak, it's all going to be class 2 and class 3. Class 3 is where you got to use your hands and your feet. You get to class 4 and you're getting into technical climbing. Class 2 is you can just walk. So there's going to be a lot of walking and some class 3 scrambling. Okay, so that gives you a good preview, and we're looking up Oak Creek Canyon Road. Let's head for Oak Creek Canyon Trailhead. Okay, here we are at the Oak Creek Canyon Trailhead. And this is where we're going to take a right onto the Arnite Trail. If you went straight, you'd go to Oak Creek Canyon, and that's the Oak Creek Canyon Trail. But instead, we're heading for the Arnite Trail. We're going to take the Arnite Trail to the Juniper Canyon landmark boulder. And at that point, we enter Juniper Canyon. And I'll show you those connections, which are very important, in just a bit. Okay, we've gone probably less than a mile on the Arnite Trail. Question is where to turn up toward Juniper Canyon. You want to take a left at some point, and there is an unmarked trail that's going to lead off to the left. And you can gauge it by how many of these markers there are. First of all, you can see the line of Juniper Canyon. You see the what I mean by that is the line of vegetation there. You see a distinct line of vegetation that marks the beginning of Juniper Canyon, which fans out in this area. So it's pretty wide. What we do is, it's either 3 or 4. I think it's 4 of these markers. And we're going to take a left onto an unmarked trail that heads up toward Juniper Canyon. And another way to tell that you've made it is that it's the only marker, that whether it's 3 or 4, it's the only marker that has an unmarked trail leading off to the left. So let's go ahead and find that. Okay, here we are. If you count that last marker that we saw in the video, this is number 5. And see this little trail that's heading up toward the Juniper Canyon landmark boulder. Of course, we're in rabbit trail country where unmarked trails split off a number of times. Okay, this is the first split, and you see a little cairn here. It may or may not be here when you're on the trail, but this first split where a trail heads up in this direction to the left and a trail heads over to the right, you take a right at this first split. And let's continue on. We'll look at any other splits. Okay, not too far from that last split. Here's another one. You see one going off to the right and one heading up to the left. And I'm going to take the left, and there's another cairn here, which may or may not be here when you're in the area. But okay, so the first one was a right, second one a left. Let's go up this direction, and if it's wrong, we'll retrace our way. But the key is going to be when we reach a high point, we will be able to see the Juniper Canyon landmark boulder. We were correct. Here is the Juniper Canyon landmark boulder. We're heading toward that boulder, and I'll show you how we pass. Actually, we pass on the left or upper side through a little squeeze channel. So yeah, to understand where to turn right, where to turn left, your first turn, well, left is actually a left off the Arnite Trail, and then it's right, left. So left, right, left. Anyway, yeah, we're heading toward the landmark boulder, and that is your indication that you are indeed on track. And by the way, reverse this on the way back so you can find the Arnite Trail. Otherwise, you're going to be traversing a lot of unmarked territory trying to get back to the Oak Creek Canyon trailhead. So just keep a mind that it's left, right, left on the way up. Okay, another little unmarked turn, and so it would be left, right, right. Take a right here, but so you can see the landmark boulder right ahead in the center. So by now you know which direction to go, because you're heading for the landmark boulder, which is why we call it a landmark boulder. And yes, it's difficult to see this boulder from below, but it's very easy to see it. You can't miss it from above, and that's why it's such a great boulder. You can see it way up in Juniper Canyon. You can see it up at the base of Rainbow Mountain. It's a great marker to shoot for. So here we are, and what we're going to do now is we are going to navigate under the left side. And as I mentioned, it's a bit of a squeeze. I've actually got caught there before. It's very tight, but if you duck a little bit, that helps. So let's see if I can make it without too much squeeze action happening. So here we are at the Juniper Canyon landmark boulder, and our next thing is to squeeze under. Now I know this is where a GoPro would come in handy. I'm actually holding my phone and attempting the squeeze at the same time. So here we are. You can see the rocks below make you step high, but the rock above is asking you to squeeze and duck. So let's see. I hear a little bit of scraping, but that was actually a relatively clean squeeze. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find an uphill path to the north side of Juniper Canyon. So here we go. Because our next navigational strategy is that we want to get on the upper north side, or the right side of Juniper Canyon, where we're going to find the trail that's going to lead us up into the narrow area right through Juniper Canyon. So, and we'll find some cairns up there. So here we go. We're just going to keep navigating here. Little pathway here. It's going to take us up to the upper side there, and just looking around. Yep, there's the landmark boulder. And here's the center of Juniper Canyon, where you will find a lot of boulders that you want to avoid until you have to be on those boulders. So we'll take this little trail. I'll show you when we get to the top. And then here we have arrived on the upper edge, north edge of Juniper Canyon. And here you see a very fine trail. So we're taking a left on this trail, and we'll be looking for some cairns that guide us, because it's just like below. There are a lot of rabbit trails. You take the wrong one and you're either heading up toward those cliffs too soon, or you're actually heading across to the Rainbow Mountain area. And believe me, I've done both of those. In fact, I think I see someone up here. Ah, there we go. The reason I took a moment to point that out is that that is the main approach trail for the cliffs you see on the eastern base of Rainbow Mountain. Very popular world-class rock climbing destination. And the trail up that up to that area is pretty nice. I took it once, thinking that I was heading toward Juniper Peak. Okay, I admit it, I've made a few course corrections on these rabbit trails. One thing that is certain, there you see the Juniper Canyon landmark boulder below. And we've been basically heading along trails. There are some cairns and some trails that do not have cairns, and that's where I have made a few course corrections. And there are some cairns that lead in other directions that are not the best. So continuing along, and what we're doing is heading for that opening of Juniper Canyon. And at some point we need to descend. Is it here? Yes, there is a little trail that heads down right here. But I could continue along higher for a little ways. Let's see. The thing is, you want to stay above the base of the canyon as long as you can. Because on the base of the canyon, that's where you're going to hit the boulders, and that'll slow you down. So I'm going to try and stay high just a little bit further. I may be, you don't want to stay high too long, which is what I may be doing here too. So there may be another course correction in our near future. Okay, onward. Okay, I managed to stay higher up in the canyon a little longer. You see some boulders that I have been either circling, or this last one I went over. And I'm going to continue along here. Looks like we go into a forest tunnel. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, in that tunnel, we don't know if this is a dead end or if it's going to lead to the approach through the canyon. So yeah, let's just continue and see what happens. So you can see it's decent. Yeah. And here we are down here, and okay, here's a place that I remember. What you do here is, rather than go what looks easy but turns into a dead end, you're going to climb up over these boulders. And so now we're definitely bouldering, and here's a little cairn marking this spot. When you see this cairn, you know you need to head up in this direction right through that opening. So here we go. By the way, here's where I put on my knee braces for little stability, and also if I need to crawl on any of these boulders up ahead. So I don't like to do that with bare knees. And I also put on some rock climbing shoes, and these give you the traction of Spider-Man on the rocks. Now, if you're an experienced climber, this is probably nothing, but it just gives me a little more confidence. Okay, onward. A lot of boulders and ledges in here. Just keep your eyes on cairns. That'll help mark the way. And it's quite the winding pathway. I don't think I could actually show you exactly where to turn, but if you start where I started, you'll see cairns pretty continuously. I came through that little channel just a moment ago. I gotta tell you, with these knee braces and rock climbing shoes, it makes a world of difference. I've done this in trail running shoes before, and this is so much better. No comparison whatsoever. So I'm going to head up these boulders here and then take a right, head past that cairn, and continue on. But again, I can't really tell you exactly where the path is in such a way you can find it. I've had to do a lot of experimentation, even on my third trip up the canyon. You just get turned around. So just go for the most logical pathway up the boulders. This boulder section will end, and that's the good news. And boy, if you get off course, you got some major ledges to deal with and a lot of backtracking. So this is the correct course, but you know exactly how I got here, step by step. All I can say is just follow the cairns from that last spot. Look around, take your time, look around to see where the next cairn is, and then head along the least, I guess, the least difficult way to that cairn, and then look for the next one. Okay, just to show you the cairns that will help you. This is looking down. I was at that cairn a bit ago, wound my way around, up these boulders, up over this ledge here, and this is where I'm greeted with another cairn. I come around this corner and no, I don't see any cairns, but I know that I need to head right up this channel. There's a little squeeze under a rock up ahead, but yes, that works, and then you continue on upward. Okay, just having accomplished that little squeeze. You see it from above. I showed you from below a little while ago. And up here. And another thing that's helpful besides the knee braces and the Spider-Man rock climbing shoes is, and they're not, Spider-Man is not the brand, by the way. It just makes you feel like that when you're on the rocks. Anyway, another valuable asset. I do about 60 push-ups a day and do various stretches, because believe me, you're going to be pulling yourself over these boulders and you're going to be stretching yourself in many different directions that are very contorted. And this is true of any of the canyons. This is actually one of the more tame canyons in the eastern base of the Rainbow Mountains. The easiest, Lost Creek Canyon. Second easiest, Icebox Canyon. Do those first, especially Icebox Canyon, and then you're ready for Juniper Canyon. But it's a lot more difficult than Icebox Canyon. So yeah, be doing your stretches and your arm, upper body strengthening. Try to use your lower body as much as possible because those are your larger muscles. Try to use your legs, but when you need to, it's nice to have good upper body strength in terrain like this. And here we have our next cairn, and as I said, you will see cairns along the way. So this is rather nice. It's not true in the more difficult canyons, Oak Creek, First Creek, but it's true here in Juniper Canyon due to the popularity of this climb. Okay, yeah, take your time to find the cairns. Hopefully they'll be there when you're here. But yeah, rather than, see, there are a lot of false directions that you can head that will lead to dead ends. See all those high boulders? Well, here's a cairn, tells you you're going to go up and over this side of the boulders, and then you look ahead and what do you know? There's another cairn. So yeah, take your time to look at the cairns, because if you get turned around in the wrong direction, yeah, a lot of dead ends, and you could reach a dead end and then not figure out how to get out of that dead end, which is the worst. Call that being cliffed out. So definitely watch for the cairns and just look at the logical route. For example, we're not going down in this direction. We're going up here. Okay, and by the way, those voices I heard, I thought they may have taken a wrong turn. Actually, no. they meant to end up scaling these vertical cracks. Maybe this is Mr. Z, we don't know. All these rock climbing areas have their own pet name. But here we go in our little bunny rock climbing course up this canyon. Here's the next cairn right ahead, and onward and upward. Okay, we've just ascended through the large boulder and ledge and brush section, and now we're emerging onto a ridge, and I call it a loose rock dusty ridge. And there's actually a little trail that will lead you up over this ridge and up to the summit of Juniper Canyon. So continuing on. And there's our rock climbing friend. And this is an activity that is not on my bucket list. Yeah, definitely not on the bucket list. I guarantee I will never do that. But more power to that guy and other rock climbers. Pretty impressive. Okay, let's head up this loose rock trail now. And you can see there's a decent little trail along this ridge. I'm going to stay a little more to the right because there's a bypass that gets you up over the ridge a little sooner on the right. So we're going to try that. But yeah, you're looking at Rainbow Wall, Rainbow Mountain, looking down Juniper Canyon. We were in that boulder area not long ago, and here is the loose red rock trail that we have been ascending, taking us over the ridge. You can see there are a number of different rabbit trail approaches here. As I mentioned, I'm going to head off a little bit to the right here and see if that gets me over the ridge sooner. So let's give it a try. And as long as we're here looking up at Rainbow Mountain, I mentioned this is a world-class rock climbing destination. And here's another thing that's not on my bucket list. Okay, let's do that again. My camera whited out when I zoomed in too far. Yep, that's the whiteout point. Anyway, if you look carefully, you can see a couple rock climbers on the stretch up here. I'm going to zoom in, it's going to white out. Let's see if we can at least see enough to catch those climbers. Yeah, too much glare on the phone. But hopefully you saw the climbers way up there. climbing that impossibly high vertical cliff, chimney, or not a chimney, I guess, pillar, column. Just amazing. Yes, heading up this steeper rocky section led to this bypass, which was the way to go. And by the way, I guess I'm obsessed with these rock climbers doing something I will never do, but yeah, pretty amazing. And that's one of the fun things about doing Juniper Peak is that along the cliff walls on either side of the canyon and above, you can see rock climbers and just watch them plying their trade. Okay, onward. Okay, my best wisdom for this rocky, dusty ridge is just stay to your right as much as possible. And, you know, as long as you're on something that looks like a well-trodden path, because your goal is you don't want to go way up over the top. You can, and then redescend, but by keeping to the right, the most established pathways to the right, you will reach the other side of this ridge a lot more quickly and save your energy for Juniper Peak. And you can see now that I'm along this north side of the ridge, I'm circling around to what looks like, even though it's still loose rock, what looks like a nicer little trail. Yeah, that was a good bypass. And now continue along this trail, and our next goal is that field of boulders. We're going to climb that field of boulders and then hit the white sandstone ledge above and take that toward Juniper Peak. Okay, after traveling about, I don't know, 300 to 500 feet on this nice little trail, the nicest trail you've seen since the R-Night or that first turn up Juniper Canyon, you reach a point where the trail will continue upward toward Rainbow Wall, but notice there's a little cairn here, and we know we need to get to the other side of the canyon. Right now we're on the south side. We need to descend and then navigate over to the north side to reach that boulder field. And there is the boulder field. And above it, the white sandstone ledge area. So, yes, this is the way. A little bit of climbing through the canyon again, through some boulders. Not as rough as anything you've done up to now, but yeah, you still need to do a little bit of scrambling. Okay, we ended up ascending up the canyon a little ways, and you can see cairns around us. Here's a cairn over here, and it's saying it's time to ascend again out of the canyon to the north side, and that's where we're going to arrive at that boulder field. And here we ascend through the brush and find ourselves at the base of the boulder field. More cairns marking the way, but there's like only one way. Thick brush on either side. Now ascending the boulder field, and you can see more cairns, but it's pretty much straight up this boulder field. Let's look behind us. So we came through that brush. And by the way, I had mentioned conditioning for this kind of experience, and that you want to use your legs as much as possible, but you need to condition your legs. I run about 5 miles a day, at least for maybe 5 days a week besides this adventure. And so that really helps strengthen the legs. You really want to be in good conditioning so that you're not worried about hanging on to something or rising up to the next level, but instead you're just looking at your route. And enjoy all the incredible views in every direction. There's Rainbow Mountain. Wow, I can hear climbers up there. I don't know if I can zoom in on them. Okay, we're at the top of the red boulder section, and you can see now this next section is the sandstone ledge, and you definitely don't want to stray too far to the right as you head up this ledge toward that point up at the summit area of the ledge where you turn left and do the final approach for Juniper Peak summit. And you see it's getting windy here, so we're definitely using the sound muffler. Hopefully it's working. And here, panning around, Rainbow Mountain, Rainbow Wall. And let's see if we can do a complete circuit here. Now we're on diagonal, slanted sandstone right now. Or maybe that's Gunsight Notch. I don't know. And then back around. To our route. upward. So let's continue on. Okay, this next section involves passing between that boulder on the left and this little cairn on the right, and then continuing on up. And definitely you don't want to stray too far to the right or even have a heavy thought on the right side of your brain, because it goes pretty much straight down. So here we go. Okay, I took the high road to the left of that boulder rather than the right. I just didn't want to face climbing up this steep area with quite a drop off below me. So here I am up in here, for better or worse, and I'm going to head up in this direction and see if I can work my way over to that final approach area. I don't even know if I'm on course. We're just experimenting around, seeing how far we can get. Okay, here we are. As you can see, we're a lot closer, but I'm not seeing a clear route. Now, this is a little trail, but there's all kinds of trails, and you don't know if they are rock climber trails of rock climbers who are going for the cliffs up above, which I'm definitely not doing, or if they're actually part of the Juniper Peak trail. You can see as we look around, there's Juniper Canyon, and definitely we've ascended a lot of loose rock up to the point where we are at. That's the area we came down from, or came up from. You see those rocks below. So definitely in unfamiliar territory, but still winding my way along, hoping for some kind of passage that's going to lead up to this area up here. We don't know if we're on the right path to get us up there, but let's keep navigating around these slopes. Try to keep from too much exposure. If I slip, I want to be able to slide to a stop fairly quickly. I came from this direction right here and then down that way. So yeah, so far we're going okay, but I don't know that I'm on a bona fide route to Juniper Peak. Okay, just saw a cairn up ahead. There you can see it. Could that possibly be an indicator of the route? Let's see if we can just navigate over to that cairn, and maybe we're on our way. Perhaps after aiming too high, too early, and going up that boulder field, and then traversing over to this spot, I was a little off course. Who knows? All I know is that I see a cairn in front of me, and another cairn at the top of this rock. So what do you think? Maybe we are back on course. We don't know. But let's go ahead and try this little section, just see where it leads. Well, somehow I've gotten off course. I know that I'd want to head to that point. What I'm going to do is turn around at this point where we are. Head back down to the boulder field. That should be challenge enough for today. And then study the route a little better. I've never gotten this far, so that's a good sign. Then you can see all the way down to the Oak Creek Canyon Trailhead. And then over to the Red Rock Canyon Scenic Drive. Actually, you can't see the Scenic Drive from here. But there we're looking down Oak Creek Canyon. And now the thing is going to be to navigate around and retrace my way along this upper area to a way that'll get me back down to the sandstone ledge and then over to the boulders. So that's where we are today. Yeah, this is a little more involved than I hear Juniper Peak is supposed to be. So we don't know where we are. Best thing is to turn around and live to climb another day. By the way, that red rock ridge with the trail that we were on, right down in this area. So we got a ways to go to get back down there, but here goes nothing. Well, the good news is that I made the traverse back down the sandstone. Actually, I was traversing that upper area at the base of the cliffs, and I'm back now to the familiar boulders and then down the canyon. So yeah, I was up somewhere in this area. In fact, I think you might be able to see one of the cairns that we saw up there. But just got a little bit lost, turned around in the boulders and the slopes, and so I headed back down. I do not believe that the remainder is that difficult. I just couldn't find it today. So that's where we are as far as our Juniper Peak summit approach. Well, here we are back at the beast, and it's starting to warm up. So I think what I'm going to do is start going higher, maybe take the Upper Crest Ridge line for a bit, and then over to Mount Charleston. We'll save Juniper Peak for another attempt, maybe next fall. We don't know, but hey, we got pretty close. We were within just a few hundred feet of the final approach today.